Welcome to the Attendant Console Softphone for Receptionist training. In this course, you'll learn how to use the Attendant Console to answer incoming calls for your business and handle those calls through transfer, conference, forward, and other items. Logging into the Softclient, you'll need to make sure that the Chrome browser is installed on your computer and you're using a desktop computer. You'll need a headset connected to your computer so that you can answer and communicate to callers as they are answered on this client. You'll need to get the console URL link provided by your administrator to put inside the Chrome browser to connect to this console. When you do enter that console URL into the Chrome browser, you'll want to enter the first part of the user ID provided by your administrator, the part that is before the @domain.com or other items. Enter the password also provided by your administrator. If you would like, click the Remember Me checkbox so you don't have to enter this again from this computer. But if you're utilizing a public computer, then do not check the Remember Me. Click the Login button, and once you do, you'll gain access to the Attendant Console. As you navigate around the Attendant Console for the first time, you'll understand that your user ID and your telephone number, which may be the main number, appears here in the top left corner. You'll also see at the top right corner, there is a log out and a settings icon for you to be able to log out or exit this application, which, by the way, if you do exit while you have an incoming call, that caller will be disconnected. The settings button allows you to make setting changes as well as shortcut keys and other things that we'll cover during this training. Within this main window, this is your active call window. And incoming calls are noted not only with the type saying incoming and outgoing calls showing outgoing, but you'll see that there's a color difference here. Incoming calls that have not yet been answered are yellow. Incoming or outgoing calls that are answered and currently open channel communication with that caller are green. Those that are on hold are in blue. You can also see the status here being a call that with the pause sign is on hold. You'll also notice that at the top left there is a dialog box with an X. If you click in that box, you can type telephone numbers to make outbound calls. Also on that same bar are different actions, and they will either be grayed out if they're not able to be used at this time, or they will have a color on them so that they can be utilized. And in this training, we'll go through each of these. On the middle of the panel, there is a voicemail in this example, but these are your speed dials. You can add one or multiples by clicking the Add New. You also have access to your incoming, outgoing, and missed call history or call logs, and you can set reminders through the memos. You can search contacts, you can also add contacts, you can filter, and so on. And when you do that, you can even click in this middle dialog where you can search and hit return. It will show all of the contacts that you have. The star means those are VIPs, and as incoming calls come into the system, if there is a star next to them, then they are noted as a VIP. You'll notice also in this contact list that none of these are shown with a yellow star. This bottom area here are your contacts, and they do show busy lamp field presence being red, green, or gray. Gray meaning unknown. You also have pagination here, meaning that you can show multiple pages by clicking the left arrow or the right arrow going backwards and forwards. As I mentioned, the star means a VIP customer. And over on the right-hand side, you have 3 tabs, one of which is presence. These are favorites that you've added from the contacts with presence. And those that show green are on the phone. Green are available. They're not on the phone. Red are on the phone. And gray means either they're not connected or it's unknown. You also have a park tab that as you park calls, or any of the attendants that park calls will be able to retrieve them from this. You also have an info tab that will give you contact information for that particular caller, especially if they've been loaded in as a contact. Now let's talk about settings. There are 4 different tabs within the settings. You can reach the settings from the top right portion of the screen where it says settings. And you see that there is options. You can make changes to your screen. These are saved for your particular user and they can be reused time and time again. Showing the sidebar, favorites as a tab, showing the time since the last status change, and so on. The shortcuts area allows you to set function keys. So if you've had a previous system with function keys that you loved, then those can be set and made sure that they are exactly the same. Within the directory, you can choose up to 3 contact fields to be shown in the bottom left quadrant. You can also change the appearance as well as low visibility settings and font and so on. All of these are saved and it will exit you out of the system when you save and you'll have to log in again. For incoming calls, we've set those to be yellow. As they come in, you'll see that it's an incoming call, and you see that I have 2 different icons that are available. I can click this to answer the call, and you'll see tooltips on that as you hover over it, and you can also make a new call. You can hang up calls as well. The dialed info for this particular caller, if it's in the contact database, and again, the VIPs with the star here can be marked. That will show on the info tab. As you answer an incoming call, you can do that in multiple ways. You can click an icon up here. You can also, and this being the answer icon with the telephone on it. You can also right click on this panel where the incoming call is shown, the yellow, and when you do, you have the choice of clicking answer. The default shortcut key for answering calls is F7, which is at the top of your keyboard. You can put a call on hold and resume it. You notice that this call has now become green. That means it's active. And I can, again, there are 3 ways to put a call on hold. You can right click on that call and put it on hold by choosing the hold function. You can hit the default function of F8 unless you have changed that to match another system that you used previously. You can also click along the top and the pause tab here to hold it, and this will then become a resume icon, and you can click that to resume it. You can also, a call that is held, you can right click it and choose the resume. Any of those will work depending upon how you best work. You can also mute and unmute a call. You can do that here from the window. You can click this icon and it will turn red, and you can unclick it and it will become active. The red denoting that you are being, it's not recorded, but you are live. You can transfer a call to another employee, either inside or outside of the company. You simply take an active call, you can right click on it and choose transfer. You could also hit the default function key 11, or as the call is active, you can hit this telephone with the tape sitting outside of it. That means a blind transfer. What a blind transfer means is you don't necessarily have to speak to the other party on the other line before completing the transfer. You can also go and dial the number at the top here. You can click that and you can enter the dial number. Actually, when you hit the transfer icon, then it will pop up with this menu here for you to type in the external number or internal number to press that transfer. Then you would hit the dial button. You can click any one of the users down below or the numbers or contacts that you have down below, and when you do, you'll have the option to transfer to their VoIP number, their business number, their alias, depending upon what you selected as the 3 choices there. You can also conference. You can use this as a supervised transfer, which is also known as a consultative transfer. That means that you want to speak to the other party that you're transferring to before connecting the caller. And you can do this via the conference function. We do not recommend that you use the consultative transfer that is enabled in this. You simply place the original caller on hold, make a second call, and put the original call on hold, and then click your conference icon. The conference icon will be the three-person icon, and you'll see it light up, and then you can conference them in to that. You can press Control C as a shortcut in order to make that conference. You can park calls and have them retrieved by other attendants or park for a short time period and come back and get them. You simply take an active call, right click on it if you want to do it that way, and hit park, and that call will show in the tab for park on the right hand panel, and it'll show who parked it and what telephone number. And you can right click that and you can retrieve that call if needed. If you have an incoming call, you can also hit the shortcut for F12 or hit the icon at the top with the P, and it will do the same thing. You can also use the feature for camp on, and that is where if your destination is busy, which you'll notice that John Doe is red, that means he's on the phone. I see it here in my favorites, but he also appears here in my contacts, then I can piggyback or I can camp this call onto his line so that when he is off the telephone, the original call, then this call will ring down to him. I simply can right click the contact and I choose the camp on to their alias or extension. I could also hit F9 by selecting them. I could also hit the camp on icon, which is the person with the P. So this is a quick park, if you will. And when you do this, then it would give you an option when you hit this icon here to enter the number that you want to park it onto. Camp onto for that particular user. When their original call is completed, this call will ring down and it will not appear in your active call and it will not appear in your parked list. You do have access to your call logs or your call history by clicking this icon called History. You have 3 tabs that will pop up: placed calls, received calls, and missed calls. You simply click any of these and it will make an outgoing call to them and to call them back. You can set reminders on the same menu here where it had call history. You can click memo, and in this you can click add a new memo. You can type in the telephone number or paste that in, the contact, any details about that. And if you would like, you can enable it to remind you in a pop-up in your tool tray. And when you do hit save, when that time appears, you'll get a pop-up in your tool tray, which means at the bottom of your screen, and when that timer expires, and you can actually click an icon to call that contact back. When you do get incoming calls, you can set this also to have a pop-up in your tool tray to answer that in the event that you're multitasking on your computer. That's for any incoming calls. You can also set contacts here on the bottom left quadrant as contact favorites. You simply select a contact, right click and choose add contact to favorites. That means under the presence tab they will appear here. If they are green, that means that they are connected to the system and they're not on an active call. Red means that they are busy on the telephone. If they are gray, they're either logged out completely or the system doesn't know. And you can also right click on any of these to call them very easily. You can transfer calls to them as well. If you have an incoming call here, you can right click and transfer, right click and camp on. And then if you were to choose delete, it would only remove them from your favorites panel. It would not actually delete them from the system. And finally, speed dials. You can set the speed dials very easily by clicking Add New, type in what you want the label to appear, voicemail, maybe a speed dial for a support number, and put in the telephone number. You can also set a shortcut key if you wish and click Save. All you have to do is click that speed dial to make that call. A few things to remember before we complete our training is to number one, make sure you're using the Chrome browser on a desktop computer, that's Windows or Mac. Do not use this application on a mobile device or tablet. Make sure you have a good headset connected to your computer, and this list outlines those that are recommendations as far as headsets. If you're using a SIP hard phone or telephone, IP telephone, along with the attendant console for the same number and user, you're basically using the same user on two devices. Each of those devices will ring, and the device that you answer on, you must continue that call on the same device. So you cannot answer on the SIP phone and transfer and handle the call on the Softclient, and vice versa. You cannot answer the call on the attendant console and then want to use the hard phone to continue that call. For additional information and additional training, please refer to our quick reference card and our user guide for the Receptionist Attendant Console. Thank you for attending this training session.